Maybe I can take your questions later. I'm sure we are all waiting for lunch and we can discuss other related topics. Bipin sir?
So thank you so much, Radhika madam, for presenting. And uh, here we got some flavor about the challenges in reverse logistics. And this presentations gives us some understanding what are the challenges, how to collections, and then actually the value proposition which is required to run this. And these understandings will really be helpful in developing the entire ecosystem. And this is a really good insights on this topic. Now I would like to invite Mr. Akhil. He's the director for Tyre Cycle. Yes, Akhil, yeah, Tyrecykal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very honored to sit on this stage, share the stage with such dignitaries and everyone in the crowd who are all producers, recyclers, and everyone from media. So today I'm going to talk about EPR. Won't bore you out, but we are going to talk about something very important. In the meanwhile, I'll start off my presentation. Can I? The main discussion points for this particular event from Tyrecykal would be the environmental impact of tire waste, the economic benefits of EPR, what an EPR is, the role of government in this, and the global perspectives of EPR. As you all know, like burning tires and decomposing tires release all methane and other harmful gases. It's not so sustainable. It's not so good for the environment as well. All these are just basic slides to people who don't know this. There are, of course, people in the crowd who know this, but people who don't know, tires produce a lot of harmful gases. They take time to, burn. The fires and all you see outside of your towns, sometimes from the industries, might be from tire industry as well. Post that, they are breeding ground for mosquitoes, all kinds of basic stuff, where the tires, what harms that they cause is what is shown in the slide. They fill up the land space. You can't have the like separation of different tires accordingly. uh, it's all haphazard. It's a headache process, to be honest. So cutting to the chase, EPR is not only an extended producer responsibility, it's also an environment protection responsibility. As Mr. Wrinkle and Mr. Chetan sir, both of them spoke about sustainability. Post that comes the CPR session, where these it's also important, and it's like it will make sure that producer is also held accountable as well. So EPR strategy is based on polluters pay principle, where the producer pollution should bear the cost of management to prevent damage to the environment. The economic benefits of EPR. EPR is like having a lower the cost and the increased revenue of recycling operations. They'll give you more profits. It has zero waste like policy, where which in turn creates like less trash. EPR also generates GST revenues, where it will help the local governments generate the tax, and it has all socio-economic advantages added to it. So this is one of the most important slides for people who came to the stall, and I was explaining. So in the EPR targets for the financial year 22-23, we are taking 35% of the tires. As we move forward, we are trying to get the EPR ramped up to 70%. And post 24-25 financial year, we'll make sure that everyone are on board for the EPR policy and registration. The main targets are calculated on 2 years of average life of tires. Also with tire recycling excuse me, yeah. Also, we are trying to fulfill EPR by purchasing CPCB online certificate from registered recycler only. There are also some obligated entities like producers, recyclers, and retraders. Entities are not allowed to do business without registration. Please note that. And in order to issue certificates, it's mandatory for recycler and retraders to register on the online portal. Everyone should register themselves, whether they are a producer, recycler, or retrader. It's very essential. And in case of any entity which has, like, say I'm a producer and I'm also a recycler, that means I'll have to enroll in both the spaces as well in the portal. So, quick overview of rules. As all recyclers are familiar here, this slide is emphasizing on what people do in their industry generally, which is reclaimed rubber, crumb rubber, bitumen, and RCB and pyrolysis. Most of the dignitaries and other people who are present here are focused on pyrolysis as well. So for this, there is a regulatory implementation that's happening. So the steps are as follows, where you'll have to register yourselves online, and then the waste tire import for pyrolysis or char is prohibited. Okay, it's prohibited for pyrolysis, and EPR certificate of validity is for 2 years. Post that, you'll have to renew yourself again. Limit on producers to purchase the EPR certificate. It's pretty self-explanatory there. It also has some environmental compensation which will come in the later part of slides. And post that, you'll also need to be aware of the annual and quarterly returns which are filing. So you'll be moving forward. Producers who are present here, they know what they're doing, and for recyclers, you also know what producers do. To put in a gist, they not only manufacture tires, they also sell like they also import tires from other vendors as well, from a third party. They can be producers still, and import waste tires as well. That's what they do. And say a person from Apollo or Michelin, all these guys have their numbers with them, and you just can't go keep track of guys. Okay, I got my tires in Kanyakumari. I just can't go keep track of my tire, where it's going and all. So the number will be already there with the producer. You'll have to verify with them, and it's all numbers game. And then we go to the producer responsibilities, where they'll have to fulfill the EPR obligations, purchase EPR certificates from registered recyclers, file annual and quarterly returns on or before the end of month succeeding the quarter. Producers shall also fulfill their EPR liability by purchasing certificate quarterly, which is ideally suggested. Target for fulfillment of EPR is limited to producers only. There is a different set of rules and checklists for recyclers. That's a whole different topic which we'll go through. Entities covered under producers as well as manufacturing people, they must register in both categories. As I told you, can be a person from both categories, and you should be able to register individually in both categories as well. Please don't be confused. So this is again one of the most important slides in my presentation. For example, we are talking about importer responsibilities and modalities under this EPR regime. So EPR obligation of the year 2022, if you see in the first box, it's given as 35% of the quantity of new manufactured or imported tires from 2020-21 financial year. So that is 2 years back. You'll have to file from that time. And we are trying to gradually increase the percent, and the next one says it's 70% of the quantity for 2023 and 2024, and this minus the last 2 financial years, that would be from 2021 to 2022 financial year. Going forward, 35% is done, 70% is done. We are trying to gradually ramp up everyone and get them on board with 100% of EPR capability, which they can, the producers can show by 2024-2025 year. So that will be my main year. that minus 2 financial years would be from where I would want to file my EPR. So, excuse me. So after that, the basic funda, please don't mind the last two slides. It's all the same. So it's basically the year is Y. Say this is 2020 to 2023 financial year minus 2 years, which is Y minus 2 would be from the time where you would want to file your EPR. Also, for people who have established their plans post 1st April 2022, yours will be starting 2 years later, and then you'll have to come back, file from that particular year, which is 2022 2023, and move forward. So, eventually, we are expecting people to fulfill their EPR requirements by 2024-2025 season by 100%. So recyclers, you know what you do. It's pretty self-explanatory. We have recyclers who produce from pyrolysis, from reclaimed rubber, crumb rubber, modified bitumen, RCB, and we are also we are going to talk about the responsibilities of recyclers for people who are not familiar as well. So recyclers must furnish the below information on portal. This is something important to note for the recyclers. Quantity of waste tires used, that's the main thing. Next, end product produced should also be reported. The number of EPR certificates they sold should be also verified and reported. And other related information will be in the portal. You should make use and gather and give all the documents and information so that you can fulfill the criteria. Uh, this is the other important slide that I'm going to talk about. It's filled with numbers, looks quite boring, but it's pretty easy if you understand. So basically, EPR certificate generation, they'll have a weightage, which is determined by the steering committee. The weight percentage, that is the WP, will be reviewed by the committee, and it depends on the technological and like advancements or whatever the other factors, external factors that we can't control. And people who are up there and in the government with the right policies, which they do, they will decide the third column in the table, WP. Okay, and going to the table itself, if you look into the QP column, we are assuming the number to be 100. We are assuming the number to be 100, which is in tons, and we have calculated the CP that is determined by the CPCB and CF. Sorry, I'm sorry if I confused you. It's CF. CF is known as conversion factor. It's determined by the CPCB itself, and there is a formula for that for people who are interested in math as well. So that will be calculated for the raw material divided by the QP, which is quantity of end product. So it will vary from pyrolysis, reclaimed rubber, and other things as well. And accordingly, the numbers are put up. That 1.42, you see that 1.25 and all you see there in the CF column. That is the conversion factor. That's not decided by us. That's not decided by the recyclers or producers. It is decided by the CPCB. Okay. And the next thing is WP, which is the weightage. As I told, there are definite numbers to calculate that as well. At the end, what should interest the recyclers is it's a simple math, it's a simple multiplication where you're having the quantity eligible for generation of EPR certificate, which is the multiplication factor of all these three columns. So that is explained in the next slide. If you see the percentage of material used, and if there is any doubt with the math, I'll be available in the stall there. You can get your doubts clarified post lunch session, and I wouldn't be taking up much time post this. We have only a few more rules and important things to discuss. That is EPR certificate generation. CPCB shall generate EPR certificate through the portal in favor of registered recycler. Calculation of eligible quantity will be calculated. The weightage thing I told, people who want the technical details can come and discuss it with me later. And moving forward, the validity of EPR certificate, this is important. this is eligible for 2 years from the end of financial year. Say every financial year, like you need to file your EPR, and the financial year ends on say 31st March, and you are applying somewhere from 30th. From that particular date to exact 2 years is where your EPR will count. That is the validity of the EPR certificate time. Okay. Suppose that expired certificate automatically extinguishes after the period unless already extinguished. EPR certificate shall have a unique number, unique code to keep things less confused. They'll have unique identities for producers and both recyclers. Certificate shall be in denominations of 100, 200, 500 and 1000 metric tons as per the steering committee. Okay. This is one more important purchasing formula, purchasing limit for the transaction of EPR certificates. If you look closely, so the producer EPR certificate limit will be calculated as the EPR liability of current year, the liability they have in the present year, and the leftover liability from previous years, whatever the leftovers there from the last financial years, that can also be taken into account, and we are adding it up with the 10% of the current year liability. You say you're having 1000 tons, and you can have the purchasing limit of 10% of that 1000 tons, and you'll add that as well for the purchasing limit. And again, this as well, you can get clarified regarding the math, and we'll move forward with the next slide. From Tyrecykal and also from the CPCB, there are charges that are there. Our charges are different. We'll discuss it later. But these charges are from the EPR portal. I repeat, it's from the EPR portal, not from the Tyrecykal. So if you look closely to the table, if it's a new producer, the proposed annual registration fee is 25,000 plus 0.625 of per metric ton for quantity of tire manufactured or imported in the preceding 2 years. If it's a renewal of registration fee every third year, it's 12,500 once you're registered. And if you want to renew your membership, that's 12,500 plus 0.3 per metric ton for the preceding 2 years as well. In case of any addendum, it's 7,500 rupees. Also comes with a set of rules, this one, because if there are deadlines and penalties that we are going to issue, we as a not Tyrecykal, the CPCP board, which are like for producers. Let's talk about producers. For producers, imposition and collection of environmental compensation in case of non-fulfillment of obligations. It's pretty simple. It's like if you break the rule, you're going to get penalized, and the penalty rules are given there. And for recyclers, it's like issue of a false EPR certificate. Say you're having a legit one, but you want to ramp up your numbers, tweak something, and you give a false EPR certificate. That's going to cost you. So please be careful regarding that. Don't provide any false information. And unregistered producers, recyclers, and any entity which aids or abets the violation of these regulations. And the next one is important as well. Unfulfilled EPR obligation for a particular year can be carried forward for 3 years. Say you're not registered and you'll be penalized with some amount, and then you'll be hastily doing, okay, let me register, let me get this done. And for the first year, if you're doing without delaying in the first year itself, you'll have to pay after paying the penalty. The portal itself, the board itself will return 85% of your penalty fee back for the first year, and for second year is 60%. And if you keep delaying, if you don't want to get the portal done, but you keep delaying, but you laze out, it will go until 30% for the 3 years. So it is suggested that you pay early. It's suggested that you pay on time. It is a regulatory thing by the board, so that is advised. And over generation of EPR certificates by recyclers, if they are over generating any EPR certificates with false information, will cost you again 5%. And the funds collected of all this environmental compensation will have a separate escrow account by CPCB. It's not going into my pocket or it's not going into any colleague's pocket. It's going into the CPCB's escrow account, to be noted duly. And after that, there are modalities and heads for utilization of funds that will be decided by the steering committee. Steering committee always plays a key role. So they decide with the government regarding what they are going to do unless any other instruction is given. They are going to follow a pattern of rules. So that is with that. Moving forward, there's prosecution, verification, and audit. Prosecution is the same penalties we talked about. There are some other important rules as well. So I'm not going to take much time regarding prosecution, but for the verification and audit, CPCB by itself or through a designated agency shall verify, the compliance of producers or recyclers through inspection and periodic audit as deemed appropriate. The next thing that should be noted is actions against violations and for non-fulfillment of any EPR target or obligations and responsibilities will also be verified. So this is one of the important things when you file your documents in the portal. You'll need to be really careful regarding what you're doing. And moving forward, there is a steering committee for this. The I'm talking about a lot of steering committee, and you might wonder who is the guy, who are the guys behind this and all that. So the steering committee will monitor and supervise the implementation of all these provisions. The steering committee will be one of the heads from say TRRAI or say a couple of major game players from producer side like say Apollo and all these guys. They'll make an informed decision for you guys on what to do with the portal. They are also not taking the money, as I told. It will go to the escrow account of CPCB, and post that the challenges and limitations of EPR. This by now you must have been bored by the EPR policies and the challenges, but you'll need to know. You need to be well informed. So that will be like trouble in documentation, technological challenge, trouble tracking the things, what you're going to do and everything, and not understanding what's up with the portal itself. So that's where we are coming. Tyrecycle, we help you do that from the beginning till the end. We help you with the process. Anything more you want to know will be in the stall. All the questions will be answered there. My team is working tirelessly. They'll answer your queries as well. And the role of government is simple. This slide is just like they make the rules. You'll have to follow them. They'll make an informed decision going forward, and you'll have to abide by them. The global perspective of EPR as well. It's coined by a Swedish guy called Thomas Lindqvist, and other countries, the European Union, as Mr. Patrick spoke in the morning. All these guys, they use the framework, they adapt this framework, and they are well versed with it. I think we should get there. And the question answer session, that as I told, please come to the stall, please visit us. We'd be grateful, and that's all. I conclude my session.